love to be with you. Thank you for your welcome, and I love to sense the hunger for God amongst you. And that, you know, I share that. I share it with you. I share it for this country, for this community, I guess. That, you know, there's so many things that we can't do from that on our own, isn't it? I'm desperately for God to move like we've never seen him. You know, we need him more than ever, I think. And I just felt for you as a church, I think this is a really key season for you. I feel like there are new things coming. I know I'm talking with Martin just about his or their plans as a family for him giving up his comfort, in a sense, isn't it? That job. I know what that's like, to give up something that brings in the wages and is a constant, it's like that snorkel, isn't it? It's like you know it, you've had it for years, and you know it provides the air, but there's a longing in you to go deeper in this stuff, a longing to take risks, to get out of the comfort zone and to take some risks. I see that in you and I admire it, and I feel like this is going to be a key for you as a community, that these next few months are going to open up new doors for you, and for you guys taking this step, you're leading at the front, and something of your journey into God is going to be reflected in the way that this church moves. That you're going to share your stories, that what God's doing in you, and there are some new things coming for you, which is going to actually unlock all of you. And so my encouragement to you is to really get behind this family. Pray for them. Pray for yourselves, because as their journey in God grows and deepens, it's going to be for all of you. You're going to experience something. And there's I don't know what you think of mine and Tanya. And you know them from one perspective. I know there is a crazy side to this couple. I don't know if you've seen that so much. I mean, I know Martin is an upstanding pillar of the community as a very, very good headmaster. Tanya, she's the ideal lady, consistent and so reliable. And yet there's a crazy side to these guys that I just think God is going to unleash. And you guys are going to have to go along with the ride. And Martin, Tanya, be released into that. Be released into acts of faith and into things that don't necessarily work, things that you're going to learn from, risky things. Don't be normal. This is an opportunity for you to go deeper. And your church needs you. This community needs you to go deeper with God. Take on things, to hear him and to trust him for some crazy things, to step out and to take this community with you. I want to challenge you as a community, not just to pray for them, but to lay hold of them and go with them in this journey. If you've got the courage. There's something that God will be doing amongst you. If you've got the courage. And mine and Tanya aren't looking behind them thinking, my goodness, if we do this, everyone's going to just leave. Because it's risky, because it's out of our comfort zone. It's not what we're used to. But actually, this is the key for you guys to grow your own relationship with God and go deep in yourselves. He's leading you. Lay hold of it and go with it deeper. God's got plans here for you and for this community. Let's just pray. Jesus. It's so easy to carry on with that snorkel because we know it works. We know it can do what it needs to do, but we also know the limitations that relying on something can bring. And I pray for a breaking out in this church of power, a breaking out of the spirit, a breaking out of normal life into some outrageous things, some outrageous events, some outrageous prophecies, from outrageous worship times, outrageous in the sense that it's not what people expected, and that people come to know the love of God in new ways that they never realised before. I pray for this church. I look around and see these dear friends. Some of them have been walking with you for years and years, but there would be a new life and a new vitality as they start to lay hold of things that are outside of their comfort zone and bringing in new things in faith. Lord, I pray for Martin and Tanya, for this family. I pray that they will have courage in this time to allow you to take them deeper, whatever that looks like. And I pray for this church, Lord. They would have the courage to go with them, to support them, to say, we're with you 100%. Go for it. We're with you wholeheartedly. And actually we will see great fruitfulness. Lord, I pray for fruitfulness in this community. People's lives will be turned around by the love of God. Help us. Help us, church. Bless them in Jesus' name. I just ask Pam to kind of give us, I know some of you will be wanting a bit of an update, which is wonderful. Just a little update on family and how we're doing and all that. So, because I'll forget, honestly. I'll start preaching and then everyone will say, well, aren't you going to tell us a bit about the family and all that? So that's Pam's job.
Hello, I'm Pam. It's just lovely to be here. I really enjoyed my... Oh, sorry.
It was just so lovely to worship with you and just to enjoy God together. It made me a bit emotional. Just thinking about the faithfulness of God and how faithful you've been. Starting this church just before all the... Was it just before COVID? And it's so trendy to say, oh, I'm over church, I'm over this, I'm over that, over faithfulness. It's a bit last year, isn't it? So I just love your faithfulness, and I just think God loves it too. That's what was making me a bit weepy. So well done. Excited to see what happens. Oh, thanks. Power. Two microphones. So what do you want me to say? Stuff about the family. Okay. Well, we're nearly empty nesters now. But not quite. We've got Evie at home still, she's 16. She had a bit of a wobbly year or two this last 2 years, but she's got amazing friends now, and she's in a really sweet little school in South Africa, so she's come right, as they say in South Africa. And the boys are at university working on their courses. Finn's our eldest, he's doing photography. So I stalk him on Instagram and see what he's up to. And the next one, Isaac, he's totally different. He's doing IT and app something or other. It's all about Bitcoin and stuff I really honestly don't understand. But so yeah, they couldn't come on our trip. They're at university now, so that's us in a nutshell. What else do you think?
Good. Everything's pared down because I know we've got lots to get through. I want to preach to you and I want to just tell you a little bit about what we're doing while we're there in South Africa.
Yeah. Oh, if you want to pray for us, please pray our boys get into church. They're just... I'm just oversharing now probably. Don't tell them if you're in touch with them, chat. They're just not in church and it really, really grieves me. I think they've just been through a few too many things with church. But they believe in God, they've got soft hearts, we're good friends with them, but they just haven't really opted in. So that's my mum pain at the moment. Thank you.
Okay, can you read that okay? This is just a title of the verse I'm going to just talk to you a bit about. The Son of Man came to seek and to save that which was lost. So we've been in South Africa now for 6.5 years. I know, time flies. Probably for 4 years. 4 years we were really trying to really work out what we were meant to be doing. And so really only in the last couple of years, I guess, we've started to see a little bit of the kind of place for us there and what we were really meant to be about. So I want to talk to you a bit about that. But it all comes out of really this verse, this sense of calling that Jesus had. That I just want to talk to you about briefly. It comes in Luke chapter 19. Many of you will be aware of this story, the context, which was Zacchaeus. Can you see Zacchaeus up the tree there? And Jesus calling him down. You've maybe been involved in that story, telling the story to your little kids or whatever, of Zacchaeus, the tax collector, and he's there trying to avoid the crowds, trying to get up and see Jesus. He's a little guy, so he climbs the tree, and then as Jesus is walking by, he says, spots him, calls up, Zacchaeus, today I want to come to your house. And Zacchaeus says, yeah, come, great. And there's this party that happens in Zacchaeus' house with all the tax collectors and all the local oddballs, the sinners, and in the midst of this party, Zacchaeus is saying, I mean, it's a beautiful place he's got very few friends, got no family, but he's got lots of money, and he says, Jesus, today I want to give away half of my possessions. I'm going to give to the poor, and if I've cheated anyone out of anything, I'll give them back 4 times what I've taken from them. And Jesus' response is an interesting one. He says this: today salvation has come to this house. And it's an interesting thing to look at. The way Jesus sees it isn't it great that this guy that was off the rails is now getting his life back together and he's stopping ripping off people, maybe he'll start to be a little bit more friendly to his Jewish neighbours and all that. Jesus actually says salvation has come to this house. There's a sense in which this guy was outside of the people of God, even though he was a Jew. He was outside of the people of God, and something happened with Jesus that made him come right back in. And Jesus is very excited about this. Jesus gets excited. He says, today salvation has come to this house. And that word salvation is quite interesting. We throw salvation around quite easily on a church kind of culture, don't we? And I just wanted to take you on a quick history. See, the first time, and it's always useful to know, when was the first time that word was used in the Bible, if you want to understand what Jesus is referring to. So you actually have to go back all the way to Exodus chapter 15, which was just after the Red Sea incident. You remember Israel coming out of Egypt, Moses and his rod, the Red Sea parts, the children of Israel go through, and then Pharaoh and all the people that are holding Israel captive. They were captive in slavery, and Pharaoh starts to come after them, and they go through the Red Sea, and then the Red Sea comes down, and Pharaoh, his chariots, his army is wiped out, and the people on the other side, the slaves, finally understand that they are free. That they're not going to be held in captivity anymore. That the captives are destroyed. And they are truly free. And their song that they sing in Exodus chapter 15 says something like this: the Lord is my strength and my song. You can give us the next slide, Peter. Sorry. Anyway, the Lord is my strength and my song. He has become my salvation. That's the word that they use, that Moses uses, that the children of Israel use as they celebrate their freedom. It was a song of freedom. Salvation really means you are set free from the captives, the slaves The slave owners, the ones that used to be your masters, are now destroyed and you are free. That's what salvation in the Bible is all about. It's about becoming free. And so for the likes of Zacchaeus, we can see, well, actually, he was a slave. He was kept in slavery to this love of money and to all the stuff that had destroyed his life. He was actually destroying his life through his love of money. It was like a slave master that kept him captive. And somehow, in his meeting with Jesus, he was set free. And that's why Jesus gets excited. He says, you know, salvation has come to this house. Rescue has come to this house. Someone who was in slavery has been set free. And this is the verse he uses. This is the phrase he uses. Because you know what? The Son of Man, he often called himself the Son of Man. He said the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. He came to find and to rescue those who are lost. That word lost is an interesting word. The Greek word actually is mostly in the New Testament is usually translated as destroyed. Okay? He came to seek and save the lost, meaning those who are being destroyed. So sometimes we think of the lost and we think, oh, it's, you know, someone who takes a wrong turn somewhere. They're now in a funny neighbourhood in Littlehampton that they've never been to before, so they're lost. But you know, hopefully they'll find their way out, or no, it's not like that. That's not being lost. It's more like if you're a young family and you go down to, you know, the beach there, Littlehampton Beach, very famous, and most of you have done this probably with little kids. Am I right? How many of you have been down to Littlehampton Beach with a young family? Yeah. Now, when you've got kids of like 2 or 3, 4, 5 years old and you're down on the beach, as a parent or grandparent, you know what it's like, don't you? You're meant to be there enjoying the sun, and the little bit of sunshine that you get, and actually, you're always looking. You know what it's like. You're always looking at your 5-year-old. Where is he? What's he up to? He wants to run off. And I remember I was walking along the seafront a few years ago, and I met a lady. She said to me, she was freaking out. My son is lost. He's lost. And you know what that means when you're on the beach. There are 2 things that are in your mind. Number 1, has he been swept out to sea, like little David? Thanks for that. I mean, that's pretty devastating to be lost out to sea. Or secondly, taken. Aren't you? Most of us are thinking, what if that person, and that's what this lady was thinking. I met her on the beach, and she said, phone the police, my son's gone, he's got lost, phone the police. And suddenly there's this full-on search party. We're out trying to find this little boy, 5, 6 years old, and there's a horrendous feeling that he's been taken. The Son of Man, says Jesus, came to seek and to save that which was lost. Meaning those who have been taken, those who have been captured, those who are in slavery. And I just wanted to give you some insight. See, we've heard that. Most of us have heard this phrase before. It's one of the stock phrases that we use. The Son of Man came to seek and save the lost. Some of us have heard that many times. We've not really given ourselves time to understand what that looks like, what that feels like. But you know as a parent what that feels like, even if just for 3 or 4 seconds you thought your child was lost and maybe taken. There's a panic that goes on inside. There's a sense of, my goodness, stop everything, drop everything, we need to find our little Johnny, our little Sarah, whoever it is, we need to find them. Now, we'll do anything. It doesn't matter what the cost, doesn't matter what the discomfort is. For me, we drop everything. and we seek in order to rescue. You hear me? Now you're starting to hear the heart of God. Now you're starting to feel something of the heart of Jesus when he was there seeing Zacchaeus rescued. It's a passion in the heart of God. It's not something that he takes lightly. I'm just going to play you a video. And it's actually a trailer for a film. The film's called Taken. It's a Liam Neeson film. Many of you will have seen it. And there's a very famous phone call in it. And I just want to say, as we watch that, maybe you can just start to see it in different eyes. Because this is a parent whose child has been taken. And Liam Neeson decides to do something about it. There's a passion in his heart. And I want to just try and help you to understand some of the ways that God is feeling about the world that you live in right now. Can you do that for me? You might want to press it again to explain.
Darling, happy birthday.
Dad, guess what? You know my friend Amanda? Her cousins asked us to spend vacation with them in Paris. I really, really want to go. Hi, Daddy.
You were supposed to call me when you met.
There's someone here. Oh my God, they got Amanda. I'm coming.
All right, listen to me. Go to the next bedroom. Go to the bed. Now, the next part is very important. They're going to take you. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If you were looking for a ransom, I can tell you I don't want money. But what I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. If you let my daughter go now, that'll be the end of it.
You know, 96 hours.
What?
They never find her.
But if you don't, I will look for you. Where is she? I will find you. And I will kill you.
Good luck.
Some of you would have seen that film. There's probably about 15 of them that have been done since then. But there's something about the passion of a father in that situation. He says, I'm coming. And I just want you to understand the heart of Jesus as he says, I'm coming. And the powers of death that held humanity in slavery, he says, I'm coming for you. And he's willing to go all the way, right the way through, even to face death itself, the ultimate enemy that keeps us all in captivity. That's the one that no one can ever escape. And yet Jesus comes right into the very heart of death itself and destroys death through his resurrection. And that's the heart of God for this world. It's the heart of God actually for you and me. I don't know if you've had a chance to just process that for a moment and think about how Jesus was willing to lay down so much, to offer himself to give up his status. Being in the very nature of God, he considered equality with God something to be grasped, but he became a human, a man, taking on the form of a slave, and then was crucified, death on the cross. This is what Jesus did to bring you life, to rescue you, to hold on to you. He wasn't willing for you to perish. He wanted to rescue you from the powers of death and sin and hell. He came to rescue us. What a Saviour we have, who would be willing to do that, who loved us that much, who was willing to suffer and die and give up everything for us. And this is the passion of God's heart, even now. Not just for us, but for those around us, for those that we don't know, those in our communities who don't know the love of God, that are still in slavery. They haven't known this salvation come to them, rescuing them, setting them free. That's the heart of God. And I want to just encourage you, before we go on to the next stuff I want to talk about, just to take a moment to let that sink in, how God loves us, how Jesus is passionate for those who are lost. Came to seek and to save, to rescue those who are being destroyed, those who have been taken captive and are being destroyed. He wants to seek and save. And let that sink in. Just say, God, you've done so much for me. You really have loved me that much. No matter what I've gone through, no matter how my ups and downs personally, you've never stopped loving me like that. You still passionately love me. I don't want to be hard-hearted to you because you love me like that. Even though I don't understand all the things that happen in my life, I know that you love me beyond any doubt. Ultimately, one day I'll look at you face to face and I can say, surely goodness and love has followed me all the days of my life. Jesus, you've always been there. You've always done it. I don't want to harden my heart because of my own the stuff that's happened to me. I don't want to just give up because I know you're passionate for me. Let that sink into you. Allow that to just shape the way that you live before God. And I want to just ask you to let that start shaping the way you look at your neighbours and the people that are down your street, the people that you work with, people in your neighbourhoods that maybe you see at the shops, or you play sport with, or whatever. God really does want to touch our hearts and start to give us a sense of passion. He loves them so much. He really loves them. But he loves the world. This is where I'm going with this. That there's huge parts of this world that are not reached, that are lost. And, we may know, we understand that our communities are lost, and we know that. We know many, many people. Actually, there are places in the world where people will live their whole lives and never ever meet another Jesus follower. They'll never meet someone who loves Jesus. At the moment, that's true in many areas of our world. And as a church, I think every single church should carry that kind of passion in their hearts as well, not just for your neighbours, not just for your friends, but for those who've never even had a chance to hear the love of God. There's many. Show us the next slide. You can see here, these red dots are what they call the unreached. People that have less than 1 in 10,000 believers in their people groups, who will most likely live their whole lives and never hear from another Christian. They may have heard the name of Jesus, but they'll never actually meet a Christian. They'll never meet someone who can tell them about the love of God for themselves. I don't know what that does to you. I just want you to imagine the heart of God. You see, particularly around this middle area, Northern Africa, Eastern Africa, and into Asia there. Just so many that still need to hear. And so this is part of what we're doing now. This is why I think God called us to be in South Africa, was to start to connect with and support those who are touching these places. What I've realised actually in going over there, like I said, for 4 years we tried to kind of do a bit of a missionary thing, if you like, go to a new culture, learn something of the culture, start a church in that culture and try and reach out. It's hard work, very difficult. And what we found is actually there's some amazing people already doing this stuff, and actually much better equipped than your English whiteys that can only speak one language and have only ever lived in one culture. There's actually people that are already doing this stuff, and so we found actually our most productive role is to really get behind those, find people who are doing this stuff that God has already called. God is so passionate about these people, He's already calling people into those areas, into those people groups that have never heard the gospel. He's already got people there. Some of them super unequipped, but super faithful. They've got very little, but they know they're being obedient to God, and they're going and they're doing it. I just want to introduce you to a few of our friends. So if you do the next slide. So this is, I don't know if you can see, the little green dot is where Pam and myself live currently, down here in a city called Pietermaritzburg in South Africa. And these red dots are represent some of the people that we're working with. So instead of trying to imagine how do we plant a church in these places, how do we plant a New Frontiers church or Regions Beyond church or whatever kind of church, our kind of church, we thought, let's forget about that. Let's find the people that are already doing this, and let's start to support them and give them, if there's stuff that we've got that can strengthen them, then brilliant. If not, then hey, let's leave them alone, or let's pray as best we can, because we just want to see. We're not about building our kingdom here, by the way. We're not trying to raise a flag for whatever style of church that is your particular flavour. We're saying let's see how we reach the people that have never known the gospel, that have never known this love. There's so many, and it's a worldwide challenge for the Church of Jesus Christ in this generation now to rise up to this challenge. That's what I believe. That every single church, wherever you are, Littlehampton, Worthing, or the other side of the world, is a challenge for us to own in our hearts these people. To feel the passion that God feels for these people that don't know Him, that have never had a chance to hear of His love. So these red dots are actually people that are already doing it and are gathering and planting churches in their people groups, if you like. And they are carrying this sense of calling to reach those in their next door people groups, those who are not too far away culturally. And so they're planting and they're looking, how do we train people who can then reach those that haven't heard and aren't being reached at the moment. So let me introduce you to a few of them. In South Africa, on the left of the screen is one of our friends, Zakile. He's planted, I think, 13 churches now in the last 5 years. He's a wonderful father in the gospel. Just leaders just gravitate to him, and he's a wonderful, caring guy. He's quite a fiery preacher. He'd keep you awake on a Sunday morning. On the right is a friend of ours called Colin, and he's from Mozambique. So you see the red dots near him. He works with 10 different groups of churches himself. So he owns these 10 different leaders in different parts of Mozambique. So probably around about 80 or 90 churches that he's now kind of overseeing and are working together. And their goal is to go up into the north there. So the south of Mozambique tends to be more Christian. The north is heavily Muslim. And to a point where there's actually, that's where currently there's a lot of trouble with ISIS at the moment. There's some wars going on there, and so there's lots and lots of refugees that are coming down the country now. So Camito every few months will go with his wife and whoever he can find, he drags them up to these refugee camps. All these Muslims have lived in a Muslim area, have never known any Christians, and he's now meeting them in these refugee camps in this moment of need for them, and sharing the gospel with them. And he's now trying to establish churches and leaders in those places. So his goal is to reach up, to train those that he meets and that come to Christ in those refugee camps, and then send them back into the north. You see how he says, I don't know how to reach those who are there, the strong Muslims there, but the ones that have come away, the ones that are fleeing ISIS, are now saying, what is this about? We were Muslims, and they came and torched our villages, killed our friends and family, and what is this all about? He says they're the ones that are open now to the gospel. If we can reach some of them and train them and send them back, then we're going to establish churches there. So that's his passion, and we're trying to get behind him, I guess, with that. So next one, Fabian is on the left. He's from Tanzania, as you say it. So he's got lots of churches, maybe 40 or 50 churches in the Dar es Salaam and that area there. Their part is to establish a strong base. There's many in the Maasai tribes that are unreached, traditionally very aggressively against Christianity. They're one of the African tribes that have been very rarely reached. But their heart is to go and reach into the Maasai. Then Baba Kamore is on the right. He's an amazing guy. I wish I had a chance to tell you some of his stories. He lives in Zanzibar. Zanzibar is 99% Muslim, and there are 80 churches, Christian churches, on Zanzibar Island. That's the island just off of Tanzania there. You can see one little island there in the middle. And so there are 80 Christian churches there. He's personally planted 10 of those. Amazing guy, who speaks regularly of his house being destroyed by the local Muslims, death threats, rescues by the police, sometimes angelic visits. He said one time the police had come and they chased guys off, and then they'd gone, and then the guys came back, said the police are miles away, they're not going to save you now. He said his wife suddenly rose up and said to them, we're not afraid, because the police only come in human power, but we come to you in the power of the Lord Jesus Christ. And as she said it, he said something happened, and the guys in front of the front next to her fell on the floor, out in the spirit. And then she had to get carried off. And of course you can imagine then the rest of the village are like, yeah, you're kidding. But there's some amazing stories about amazing persecution. At the moment they're trying to church plant in another the island just above Zanzibar there, which is called Pemba, which has no Christian churches at all there. They won't allow, if they know you're Christians, they won't allow you even on the island. And that's the heart of the man. Say, no, we must go. We must go. Next one. Okay, so this is Zenas. He, his brother and his father work in Faizabad in Pakistan. So we're working with those guys, training them as well. incredible. They've got 36 churches around Fyzabad. And humble men, beautiful Christians who are seeking to learn and to grow as well. They want to reach out to us. Zenas and his brother are due to come over and we're going to spend 2 months together at the end of this year. So they're going to come over and we're going to do some training and we're going to work together on how to reach and train people in all cultures. So people that don't read, we're going to try and learn how to train them in learning the Bible. Zenas' two uncles last year were murdered, so he has people regularly following him, death threats. As you know, Pakistan is a predominantly Muslim country. So these are the guys that God has opened the doors for us to partner with. So they are, we've got one more, which is, here's Ong in Myanmar. So he's got 4 churches that he's planted. And you may read of some of the troubles that are going on in Myanmar and all the difficulties there for Christians, persecuted from the Buddhist majority. God has opened up these doors for us, and it's amazing really that how He's just allowed us, as I said, we know very little, honestly. We know very little in our, I'm from Luton. We grew up and then made a big trip down to Worthing on the South Coast. So I really had lots of cross-cultural experience. God has opened up these doors, and what we're doing is basically looking at training. So my role with this is to head up the training of all their leaders in theological, in various ways that we can. So I've got, give us the next slide, I'll show you some of the training material we've produced. So this is the main course. So after 4 years of being with some of these guys, I've said, and trying to understand what their needs were and how I could fit. I realised actually there's a lot of the theological understanding. These guys are rich in faith. They are rich in power, seeing signs and wonders. They're far advanced in many ways. But theological training ways, they're vulnerable. Not actually got good education. And Bible colleges tend to be those that are sponsored by the West with Western material, and it doesn't really go in very well. It's not, there are differences in terms of the way people are educated often. So, they won't handle the Bible well. And so I put together in this course, which was trying to really give them a grounding in theology. And so that's what we've done. This is actually an amazing tool. Funny enough, it's gone much further, much wider than I was imagining. So we've got it. The top left is Portuguese version. The bottom left is Swahili, and the right hand is Xhosa, I think. Is that right? You guys, you can't see. Oh yes, I'll tell you it's Xhosa. That is, I promise you. And so God is using that, we're getting it translated into different languages, we're doing training with them, and then when we find people that are really able to grasp what we're doing, they then handle it and just take it on and start to do their own training. We're basically trying to resource them with their own material in their own languages so that they can then go and train their leaders and equip them. So that's the one course we've done. You're welcome to come down and look at that and see how that fits together. Then we've got another 3 courses that we're running with them, and this is our sort of foundation that we're doing in terms of our training. So it's been God has opened up these doors, and these guys never really had training like this, which is a great blessing that God has enabled me. I feel like I've been a bit of a bridge to take some of the stuff that I've learned over here and translate it into a way that is appropriate for the leaders there to really grasp and to learn in their own style. And so, now really we've got open doors into many, many places that we can, they're asking. As soon as they see the material, they're like, yes, we really need this. This would be really helpful. So that's where we're up to. Of course, I'm coming to give a little sales pitch for what we're doing. But to say to you guys, I mean, there's all sorts of ways of getting involved in this. We try and do our best. Pam's brilliant at keeping up with blogs and various other ways of sort of communicating out what we're doing. So if you want to keep in touch personally, you can text your email address, or you can give it to us this morning. We'll make sure we put you on a mailing list and that. There's obviously, we try and keep up to date with prayer requests and our needs given. Really, the bottom one is the one I want to talk about to you guys on this, about partnering. There's something about, like I said, this is a worldwide, this will only be solved when the church worldwide starts to see the mission that we're on together and start to partner together. You have riches and resources that we don't have, but there's a lot of things that you don't have that we can provide. Let's say, you'll never be able to get into Zanzibar to plant churches and see the gospel reaching those people. But Baba Kamola, well, he can do that. But he's limited. He's limited primarily by his finances, got to be said. So we could do so much more with more finances. I mean, at the moment, we've got a booklet like this. It's all translated, it's all been nicely laid out. Rachel, Robin Ireland done their business, their magic with this stuff, and it's all there, ready to go. And we need £1,000 to print out enough copies for them. They've asked me for 2,000 copies in Swahili for Zanzibar and Tanzania, and then some of the nations around there. Well, I've got that at the moment. They do. We always say, God isn't sure. He's not short of a penny or two. God has got all that he needs. The only problem is, a lot of it is in your pocket. And actually, this is a way that you genuinely partner with us. I'm not actually honestly looking for a one-off gift. What I would love is for churches to see that they're called to be part of a mission, a bigger mission, that they're on with us, and are starting to say, okay, we're going to give regularly, we're going to pray regularly, we're going to be partners with what's going on there. Pam is brilliant at keeping in touch. If you want her to, she can bombard you with all sorts of stuff. Her problem is she doesn't want to overwhelm. But there's so much to do. There's so little time, if you like, because there's so many people that haven't heard the good news of Jesus. And we need that sense of togetherness with churches that have got some more resources than we have. Primarily at the moment, our group of churches, as you've seen, are in poor African rural areas. We can't reach the nations with just that base. We need other churches that will come along. I don't care what you're called. I don't care about any labels anymore, honestly. There's a passion in the heart of God to reach this world for Jesus. And I'm calling you to be part and be partners with us. That's what I would love. I'd love you to join us. To give regularly into what we're doing, pray regularly, to come and visit if you can. Love to take you to show you some of the people that we're working with. It will change you. It will really change you, inspire you for the work that you're doing here, just to see how they're laying down their lives. They've given up the snorkel. They're full in with the oxygen tank. Come and be part of it. That's my pitch for you. Okay, let's pray. Lord, just want to take this moment to let your Spirit do His work. This isn't something that we want to do in the flesh. We want the Spirit to be at work. We don't want emotional responses. We want the Spirit to convict and to guide and to bring us into a sense of oneness and unity of heart. And so if this is you, this is what you're doing, not just for mine and Tanya, but for this community, Lord, then we'll pray. You'll knit our hearts together in this. There'll be a passion for mission, even if it's not with us, that there will be a sense of conviction of the passion of God to reach, to seek and to save the lost. Give us a fresh understanding of what that looks like. Give us a fresh sense of the heart of God for this world. That we wouldn't live in a little bubble. That we see what you're doing across the world and be gladly joining together in cheerful partnership. Lord, that's my heart. I pray you'd do that amongst us. You help us to work these things out for your glory, so that we can do what you've called us to do in the time you've called us to do it, Lord. That we see many, many reached in our generation all across the earth. Thank you.
Okay, Colin, thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Around on chairs, some of our little giving envelopes, and I would love us to bless these guys. We've talked a lot about seed sowing, haven't we, recently, about Mark's Gospel and talking about the farmer sowing seed. This is a seed sowing moment for us. That we can sow seeds that have an impact globally in what God's doing. And I want to encourage you. If your heart's been still, I want to invite you to sow seeds that are going to impact nations you will never visit, peoples who will only see in eternity probably, who are going to be impacted by sowing seeds today. So if you've come prepared, then put it in here. Make sure it's clear this for Colin and Pam, and stick it in the box before you leave. If you haven't, and now you're thinking, actually I want to give, then you can do an IOU. You can just write on here and say, look, I'm pledging I want to give into what God's doing across the nations. Stick it in there, and Simon will chase you like a hound to make sure you come through with your IOU. Alright? I want to encourage you. Please think about it. During this week there'll be another opportunity next Sunday to give as well. But let's sow into what God's doing. Can we thank Colin? Brilliant.